a lot of truth in there. That is used by Tolkien or by Lewis, Donald, Shakespeare. It is a common tool that's used by the powerful elite to tell.
All right, Gary, you're on the line. Please go ahead and tell my audience where to find your websites and your amazing books.
Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me back to your show, and so happy to be here today.
Hi, Diane. Hi, Vas. Good to see you guys. Hang on, it's a bit crooked.
I'm an author. My name is Garry. I've written 2 books.
Big hug back, mate.
Part 2, and for people who want to learn a little bit more about me or want to learn about my books and or get a hold of me, you can do that through my website, which is the Genesis6conspiracy.com. That's Genesis 6, the number 6conspiracy.com. With a generous excerpt of all 98 chapters of book 1, all 84 chapters of book 2. There's a contact the author button. You can also get signed copies from me if you go to the Buy Now page. There's 3 pages there, one for book 1, one for book 2, and there's a bundling page as well, and there's discounts for multiple copies. So that's the easiest, fastest way to get a hold of me or my book. You can also link over to barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com, amazon.ca, and you can also link over to Amazon for the Kindle edition for both books and for the Audible.
Guys, if the Wi-Fi drops out, if I only got 10 or 15 minutes to go, I'm going to hang up. But if it does that again, I've got something else I've got to do to make it work properly. It's quite simple, to be honest.
Edition for both books as well.
Nice. So, with that being said, I hope you guys picked up a copy. I know you guys, a lot of you guys already have a copy already, and you guys know who Garry Wayne is. But if you haven't gotten one, it's a very great book.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying this is on the show. It's like reading the Bible.
Yeah, nobody was raptured, Vas. We knew that wasn't going to happen.
Every time you reread it, you find new things that you didn't see before. And as you keep learning through the world as it comes, you start to go back to the things you didn't understand in the book. And it just keeps connecting the dots. So thank you, Garry, for that. So,
guys, I saw a video show, vids that showed people in a forum, like 5 people, and they were all discussing the rapture. And they were really talking like they expect it tomorrow, when we know not to do that. But
let's jump right into this, Garry. I wanted to talk about what's going on. There's a lot of hype going on right now about the Catholic Church. And, prior to that, they have a really bad history of a lot of different things, a mountain of things you can talk about with that. But I think it's very interesting that Donald Trump made that joke about being the Pope. And then suddenly we get the first American Pope. And I believe when he said in his speech, he, thank you, this, thank you, that. And it was all thank you to Mother Mary. Not once did he mention Jesus, at least not in the beginning. So with all that being said, Garry, what do you think about this guy?
Yeah, interesting. And also noting that according to Trump, we're going into the golden age, which is an end time reference in terms of Atlantis and the new Atlantis. So lots of things are going on in the world today, and we should be aware of the language that they're using, because that's what they like to do. They like to encode things in double entendres, and Francis was a master at saying things that could have 2 different meanings. And they have I think, an increasing level of importance on Mary and the Mary apparitions that continue to take place all around the world. So one should expect Mary to be a larger role, or...
That's a good question, isn't it, Vas? So this tape, where they sit around these 4 guys talking and that, they're talking about the rapture for every day for the last... I only discovered them about a month ago. So them 4 guys, they're the ones that are going to get raptured. I lost my train of thought.
Sort of a polytheist equivalent as a queen of heaven, as the major female deity as the Babylon religion starts to sort of come into place. So it was an interesting choice to have Leo the 14th put back in place.
I never forget to finish what I was going to say. I ran out of steam there. Them 4 people that do that sit-in, I wonder how they are now, because they just got burned really bad, because now they just got turned away by the Holy Ghost in their minds. So I wonder how they're handling that. I wonder how they're all handling this, all these people who didn't get raptured. I wonder how they're all going. I bet we don't hear much of them. And nearly every prophet on TV, on the screen, on streaming and that, they were all into the 23rd of September. They all went for that as a big rapture day.
Obviously, it was a bit of a surprise, but this was also one who was mentored and put into the positions of power by Francis. So we're getting in, and let's wait and see exactly what he is going to do, because that's how we should evaluate, and we should give the benefit of the doubt going forward. But there are things to watch out for, and that Mary thing is sort of key to this whole connection as to why we want to be a little bit more scrutinizing of how the leadership of the Roman Church taught, and particularly with the pontiff. And so what's interesting about continuing with Leo is that Leo the 13th is the one who brought the Jesuits back to full power.
Oh, wow.
And of course, Mary is a significant part of the Jesuit order, as it was with Francis. And just as the Vatican took control of the Medjugorje sites for the most part, and control of the message and the recognition of some of those apparitions, and with the, I would think, contact with the 6 children who are going to be coming out with prophecies on specific dates. So there's a relationship there that is interesting. And also Leo was famous for being an Augustine order of the monastic orders within the Roman Church. And the Augustine order was a Gnostic order, and were absorbed in part of the Cistercian and the Benedictine order that sponsored the Knights Templars. Understanding that the Jesuits, when they were positioned back into the Roman Church, were the successors and called by the polytheists and the Templars inside the church, because they wanted to get control back in. So Mary was very important with the Knights Templar. And so when we see all of the cathedrals that were built by the Masons, guided by the Templars, and the building knowledge that they brought back to Europe, they're dedicated to Mary. And everybody thinks that Mary, Mother of Jesus, but typically in Gnosticism, and Templars were Gnostics, as were the Cistercians, as were the Augustines, as most monastic orders are within in the church, at least from their historical perspective, and I think it continues to this day, is that they honored and dedicated the churches not to Mary, Mother of Jesus, but as that double entendre of how they hide things, but to Mary Magdalene, who they believe is the one that Jesus loved. Just as you see that come out in the Da Vinci Code, yes, a fictional story, but based on their belief system.
Yeah.
So a lot of truth in there. It's just written in the typical mythopoetic sort of style that is used. Like,
Okay, well, what's the secret to it then, Gary?
by Tolkien or by Lewis, MacDonald, Shakespeare. It is a common tool that's used by the powerful elite to tell their stories and keep their genealogies and history and characters alive around an interesting sort of narrative. It's like
that Polish Kazakh, I can't even say it. That's in Russia's borders, isn't it?
Sort of an expansion on.
It's the headquarters for the Jews. Is that right?
To what children would know is the fairy tale. It's all based on the same sort of premise. So when we look at this organization that is called the Jesuits that are going to be put back into the Templars to pick up where I left off, you have Ignatius of Loyola, who is initiated into his commission by Mary and Mary apparitions to change the Roman Church from within and to complete the Templar agenda. And the Templar agenda was to create the new Babylon for the Roman Church. And of course, Babylon is the end-time religion as we understand it from the book of Revelation. So this connection to the Augustine, which were absorbed into the Cistercians and the Christian Celtic Church, which was absorbed into the Benedictine order by none other than the one who basically spoke and was the second most powerful individual within Catholicism at the time, a fellow by the name of Bernard or Saint Bernard.
Yeah, vast. Diane's a smart cook. You should be aware of that.
He actually wrote the Constitution for the Knights Templar and adorned them with the Red Cross and was their only sponsor within the church for until he died. And so again, we have these connections that just sort of go transgenerationally. And now you have Ignatius of Loyola, who is going to set up a new night order in preparation to bring about the end time again. So when we look at Augustine, he's being portrayed, I mean, not Augustine, but when we're looking at Leo the 14th, he's being portrayed as a compromise choice and someone that would please the conservatives and would please the progressives, but he's a very much a progressive with liberation theology and environmentalism, but is there to try and build bridges back between the churches and build bridges to other religions based on the quoted language that he's talking about, and understanding you can take that meaning from the word pontiff as back into the Latin as in basically a bridging two different things as well. So, but again, lots of double entendres and allegorical meanings that are going on there. So I think we want to be careful. He could turn into more of a conservative and bring back some of the more traditional doctrines to the church, or he may be indeed.
Thanks, Vas. I try to make it interesting.
To take the church to
good to know it's getting paid attention.
And just so people understand, who understand history, there are two Augustines, by the way, and you have to separate the two. One is Augustine of Hippo that lived about 354 to 443 AD, and then you have the architect of Canterbury, part of the Roman Collegia that the Manichaeans owned and molded into Christianity to be protected from persecution.
We get on rather well, don't we, Last?
From the Roman Church and to build Roman churches for the Roman Church. And so that's why Augustine is the architect of Canterbury. He lived about 596 to about 650 AD, so two different individuals. And I'm talking about the latter, who was a Manichaean, initiated Manichaean a death before he was absorbed into the Augustine order. And the history is that he converted, but he still kept many of his mystical belief systems in place. And the mystical belief system as it applied to Jesus, which is a teacher and a prophet, but not the Word of God. So it's a blend of polytheism and monotheism, and we would understand that modern understanding is not Christian. So we want to be, again, careful because he may not be part of that, but it seems likely that we want to be careful with that. And we would look for more of a Platonic philosophy that the Augustines looked at. So, which is something that we want to sort of take a look at. So, I know when Francis was first voted in as Pope, and everybody was looking at him as being the last Pope according to the prophecies of Malachi. And as the Black Pope, as some people also look at him as from more of the Rosicrucian side of prophecies.
We never did get an explanation on how the last Pope turned out not to be the last Pope. After all the fanfare about him being a final Pope, turns out he wasn't a final Pope. So I wonder what went on there. Who's telling lies?
Nostradamus, because he was the Black leader of the Black Pope of the Jesuits, who is now going to combine the White Pope and the Black Pope.
It's time to power your outdoor passion with Battery World. Whether you're heading off grid, making a splash on the ski, or getting your motorbike ready for a grand adventure, we'll make sure you're enjoying the great outdoors once again. Visit your local battery experts at Battery World today.
Yo, R-I-C-E. Let's cook it. Rice, baby. Alright, stop. Grab a plate and listen. Rice is back with a whole new dimension. Rice, baby.
Now that's the feeling. Progress. With Newcastle Permanent's local home loan experts, we're here.
Show them you can be your own man again.
So, but a lot of people have raised him to be like Antichrist and false prophet level. And I used to take a lot of heat on it. I said, we don't want to get ahead of this. Yes, we have to recognize there might be something to the St. Malachi prophecy, but it's not canon. And is he the last one or the second last one, which is some of the debate that goes on with those types of prophecies. And I just thought he was not moving quick enough and was young enough to get done based on the agenda that he was. So I didn't think he was the false prophet, but I do think he was a major step on the way to getting the new Babylon set up within the church. But obviously it didn't happen with his lifetime. But we now have a new pope that we should keep very much an eye on, because if we're going to move into the end time, and I think we might be in the Big Three generation, then we should start to see some more significant change, and we need to see more changes with how the Catholic Church is positioned, and we don't need to be sort of looking out for more.
Vast, a lot of people play Australian ads on video on YouTube. They show all the funny ones.
Of the prophets or the false prophets, as we would understand that from a end-time prophecy perspective, that's going to transform not only the Catholic Church, but combine all of the religions of the world together into this new Babylon religion. And as part of that, we're seeing and hearing accounts all around the world in polytheist cultures that we're saying, like Inanna, the Queen of Heaven in Mesopotamia, or Hathor in parts of Egypt and Africa are making visions, and the visions are the same as the Mary apparition. So there's something that's coming, and they're all describing themselves as the vision in Revelation 12, which is sort of a manipulation of Scripture. So you know it's not coming from a scriptural perspective, because the woman in Revelation 12 is not Mary. And it's a sign, that's going to be there in the end time, but it has to do with the reconciliation of Israel and Judah in the last 3.5 years. So, yeah, interesting times for sure.
Yeah, that's wild. So I also wanted to bring up too, I don't know if you, how much detail you know about this, but before Pope Francis died, and he was hospitalized, the first time he was hospitalized, this is like a fact too. The nurses and other people that were there spoke on this. Pope Francis, I think it was one night or 2 nights, where he couldn't sleep and he kept screaming, "Get these devils off of me! They're trying to take me!" And according to what Pope Francis said, he said a hole opened up at the foot of his bed and demons are trying to pull him in. Now, as far as I'm concerned, when that kind of sign of end happens, it pretty much tells you that you weren't doing exactly what you're supposed to do as a godly man, because that sounds a lot like how Aleister Crowley and Anton LaVey, before they died, they had the same kind of
It
experiences.
does. And let us not forget what he did in late December in preparation for what I would call a non-biblical Jubilee celebration, but a Catholic Jubilee of 25 years, and the most important one, and I'm also including in sort of aspects of the Gnostic Jubilees as well, which is the first 25 years of a century, and being the most important. He opened up those gates. And if you look at that video, he looks almost terrified as he's looking into it.
Yeah.
And you wonder, what the heck are they doing with this ritual? And
hang on.
And people will say, well, we've had this tradition of this Jubilee for a long time. What are you talking about? It's not biblical. Well, that comes in the Middle Ages of 25 years. The biblical Jubilee is 50 years, as described in the book of Leviticus, and is used for completely different purposes than whatever is going on with this Jubilee and the opening of these gates, or this almost like a portal. And again, some people are saying, and I can't see anything from the video on this, so I'm only saying what people are saying, is that he actually saw into the depths of the pit.
Yeah, it looked like it's fake.
But yeah, he was not happy. And I was also told, I haven't had time to confirm this, but the last time they did this, the Pope died shortly thereafter as well. But I mean, in this case, Francis was already deathly sick.
Yeah.
If he did see something, it may have been he had to look into what was coming for him, which is why he was so fearful on his death. And what's also interesting is on the Gnostic side, 2025 is the Jubilee, and 2025 is the year Alice Bailey talked about in terms of the externalization of the hierarchy. And if that sounds opaque, well, it's meant to be opaque because that's what the polytheists and interpreters do. And in this case, what we're talking about, the externalization of the hierarchy is making visible the hierarchy. And the hierarchy is a Greek word, as we understand it, and it means a sacred assembly of archons, or the council of the gods, that you would reference biblically from Psalms 82 as the council of the gods, that are ruling this earth, that Satan sits above until the end time is completed, and they rule over the 70 nations. So if we are in the fig tree generation, and I think we might be, and I think we probably are, then it should be like the days of Noah. And in the days of Noah, before the flood,
Here we go, Vas. Australian adds to the funny, apparently.
So, the one for Europe, there was one, the ketchup one. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Guys, me and my lovely wife, we checked out some commercials from Europe, and now we in Australia with some commercials. The one for Europe, there was one, the ketchup one. Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, that one was crazy.
You
need to link it down below so they can go see it.
Yeah, it'll be on one of the tags. You'll probably see it on the video. I think it might be on my corner right here. It might be right there. I'll tag it up there so y'all can see it. But it was insane. It was crazy. But we got 10 funny Australian commercials. We checking out, seeing what it's about. So y'all hit that subscribe button. Let's see how good these are.
That's all right.
Hey, I know that guy.
That's a knife. That's me. Brian Dundee.
Oh, what's the name too?
Is that like a movie?
It might be a movie. I know that guy and then Thor. Really? Got his real name.
Really? Why do you keep saying really? You're all there, mate?
Yeah.
Nothing to see here, man. Just getting a clean shave with my machete.
Chris Hemsworth, that's his name. Good guy.
Let's have my bed.
Chris Hemsworth, the one in the
My
back.
dad told me about this. He was just like, yeah, I just came up.
Oh,
I think he is. Is he Australian?
See you.
I'm not mistaken. What movie is this?
Welcome back, Guy.
It's real.
Not a lot of crocs out here, huh? 37,000 miles of pristine, beautiful beach, man.
Dang.
Wow, that's nice.
Australia makes some of the finest wines in the entire world. No, I didn't know that. Thank you very much. Wait, hold up.
Guys, did everyone watch Mike from Around the World yesterday? Because I didn't get a chance to. Did anyone see it? Is it worth playing if you haven't seen it?
This isn't a movie. No. It's tourism ad for Australia. Yes. But listen, you're the best crocodile.
No.
We had the best
I
trip.
thought this was a movie.
It was pretty sweet.
He pulled this for sure.
Man, I would have watched that.
Hey, there are some great flight deals for Australia. Dude, I get it. It's not a movie, it's a commercial.
That's crazy.
That is funny.
That's an A+ commercial. I would have watched that movie.
Yeah. You
Diane, that JTW, he's doing a lot on the volcanoes and that.
say, oh, we're gonna have to watch it.
Yeah.
And drones, they're spotting drones like hundreds of zones above military areas.
I was getting ready to look for it too. A fire stick for sure. Because I was like, if it's in Australia, we're gonna have to be on the fire stick. And they don't.
This is a house commercial. And get your insurance.
What is that? A vacuum? A leaf blower?
Okay.
Oh no! The dog face today.
Good thing you got your insurance solved.
The expert degree. Budget director once
Is
again
that
insurer of the
insurance
year. So you can relax knowing your home's covered.
Dang!
You can't too.
Moneymakers
Oh,
insurer of the year.
I'll give him a run, Vass. I'll check him out and see what he's got to say. He mainly does geography, like volcanoes and that, and he does do politics, but not as deeply.
I thought we got, the guy, he like put himself in a situation and he like wrecked people, like hurt himself and things like. I forgot. There's a guy. He's like, it's like an insurance commercial that we have, and the dude like do some off the wall stuff.
No, I haven't seen
You have. I just don't.
This place is
I don't know if it's
amazing.
Allstate or
You
what.
really
It's a
outdone
commercial.
yourself this
Sound like
time.
Allstate.
Nick? Raj? What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Of all the places, look who it is. It's Raj and Diane. G'day.
Oh, they definitely planned that.
They drove here. Nick? Jan! What are you doing here? What a coincidence!
Yeah, bro, that would be a beer commercial.
You, me and Raj, all in the same place. Michael Jackson?
Oh, no.
Is that yours? That's not Raj.
Bro,
What a coincidence. You wouldn't have bet that was going to happen, would you? This with Raj and Jan.
Ah, yeah, definitely. Stay a little longer.
Chill with the guys. Make the trip interesting.
I'll go back to the show, guys. That was funny.
Before the flood,
I got real life insurance to protect us financially. You can choose up to $2 million cover. Click to request a quote now.
Decades of stubborn grind vanished in 60 seconds. Neighbors couldn't believe it. This revolutionary jet hose.
and we'll use a pantheon from the Bible so that people understand the connection here and the veracity that we need to pay attention to some of these details is that the parent gods of the Canaanite pantheon were El and Ashtaroth, along with many others. But these created giants before the flood, and they walked amongst them. And then after they were killed according to polytheism, the offspring gods take over. Well, you can't kill a mortal, so they went to the pit prison, just as Jude 1 and 2 Peter 2 talk about. For the crimes of the angels in 1 Peter 3, in the days of Noah, they went to the pit prison, and then the offspring gods take over. Baal and Anak would be the parent male god and female queen of heaven that was going to rule over the council of God that was located at Mount Hermon. And so when you have that externalization of these gods, you had the offspring gods after the flood walk amongst us for a short time as well. And according to the Ugaritic text, they created the Raphaim that show up in Genesis 14 and 15, and the most common word used for giants in the Old Testament, versus Nephilim, which is only used 3 times in the Old Testament. Raphaim for coastal living giants are used 25 times, a combination of Raphaim and giant. Wow. So when we start to look at what they're talking about, is there could be that you have a coming back of the gods to be visible and ruling amongst us in the end time, and that they either are going to produce more giants, or we're going to see giants that survive somehow, some way, whether it's in spaces and other dimensions, however the fallen angels would have protected them, or the descendants that are going to partnership to bring about the end time. And so even if that doesn't happen in that sort of order, understand that the pit prison is going to be opened up in the last 7 years. So we're going to have all of these angels amongst us, and then time for Antichrist to rise to power, and it's time for the war in heaven. That's also talked about in Revelation 12, where that sign is talked about. That's at the midpoint of the last 7 years, is timed by the 3.5 years that Israel is going to be, for the second time, taken on eagle's wings, and I'm quoting Revelation.
I think they're bringing in that one digital currency, Vars. There's been a bit of issues on that.
12 and 4 for the time of Exodus. That's the time of the second Exodus begins at the beginning, at the end of the last 3.5 years. So all of this is kind of important to understand in terms of context, what might be coming, also combined with the understanding that when Jesus was here, he went to Mount Hermon for the Christian religion. And that's where he changed his, the name to Peter from Simon, and then a rock, because that's in part of the name he's going to be building the rock on Peter as the church. But the rock can also refer to the mountain, and Jesus is also the rock. So you got lots of different meanings here. But he does this where the gate of Hades is located, and the Pan Temple is located. And he's announcing to them, I think, that I am going to build my church on this earth, and you still don't know yet how we're going to bring your rule to an end, but this is the start. And then, of course, Jesus is crucified. And 1 Peter 3 is talking about Jesus while he's still in the grave. He's visiting these spirits, right? Mm. And these are the ones who sinned in the time of Noah. And I generally talk about in this aspect that, I think he's telling him that when I resurrect on the Sunday, your rebellion is officially over, and you will be going to the lake of fire. And then how I kind of get there is you have to sort of link in Colossians 2 and Ephesians 4:8, where Jesus is going to be taking the captives out of their captivity and parading them to the mountain, which is Mount Hermon that we're talking about, and making a spectacle of them at that time with that announcement. And if you want to get the full details of what Paul is talking about in Ephesians 4:8, you have to read Psalm 68, because he's quoting directly out of that. But you get more detail in Psalm 68. So all of this has to do with these gates and these portals and the pit prison and the days of Noah. And it's really hard to sort of say, push all of this information aside and say, well, that's just coincidence. Well, that's a little bit too much coincidence for me. I think we need to pay more attention.
Yes, absolutely. And, really quick, I want you to, because that part where you said where Jesus standing there on the rock, and a Catholic will tell you that that's when Jesus said he blessed the Catholic Church, and that's the beginning of the Catholic Church. I just want you really quick, can you just for the audience kind of explain like why they think it's that? Like, how do they get that answer? It doesn't even make any sense how that could be translated to a church and use the Pope.
And we did a show on this not too long ago, and so they look at the first bishop of Rome as being Peter, which is true. Peter found the Church of Rome, but the first church is the Jerusalem Church that's founded in Jerusalem.
And they were known as the Way. I argue with the Catholics over this on Facebook.
And so Jerusalem is going to be the center of Christianity, the capital center of Christianity, and James is the first bishop of the Jerusalem Church. And so this reigns until the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD and the destruction of the temple. And it's going to move over to Peter after that. But he's not the first bishop of Jerusalem. Peter is the first bishop of Rome because he founds that. So Peter could have just as likely have been a bishop of Jerusalem, but it was decided that James would be brother of Jesus. So it's a bit of a stretching of the history to arrive at that, but understand there was a Jerusalem church first that was more closer in its relationship to Judaism, Orthodox Judaism versus mystical Judaism, than what the Roman Church did with all the homogenization of
I was never eager to see
the power of Constantine. So, we want to be a little bit careful with that. I mean, I'm just kind of one of these guys who like to be sort of historically accurate. I'm not saying that Peter is the first bishop of Rome, but that's not the first church.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I just wanted to get that out there, even though you said it before, and a little breakdown would be more convenient for them, because that's one of the big points I rebuttal with back and forth is we're always rebuttaling about that verse and rebuttaling about the Eucharist. So, that's always the argument. We're reading the same thing, we're just coming to two different.
If people have seen the movie Wizard of Oz, they'd get all the points I'm making in it. Like, I don't think anyone really understands how deep it is. It proves that God still talks to us, and in a literal way, because I can prove it with what I was told with the Wizard of Oz decode. But no one likes to go to it.
Translations, I guess. But I wanted to also ask you, okay, so there's this 900-year Pope prophecy. Was that the one you were talking about with Nostradamus, or was that a different one?
Well, Nostradamus is a different set of prophecies than the Malachi prophecy.
Okay, I see. Because that's the one that's been coming up too. And I guess in the Basilica of, I think it's St. Paul's Basilica, the one where they have all the pictures of the different popes, and it's shown that there's only like one slot left to add a picture unless you're going to put another frame up. I thought that was interesting too, and that's another coincidence. Like there's no more room for another picture.
Yeah, and that room for another picture is a little bit out of line with St. Malachi's prophecy of the popes, based on at least the documents that we have on it. But the church may have a little bit more than what's been released.
Okay, this is only 2 days ago, so this is the fresh Pope he's talking about.
These two ones. So that's why when I said that Francis was said to be the last Pope, and I said there was a debate that he might be the second last Pope within the church. So that sort of goes to the heart of that. So we could be on the last Pope. And the last Pope is supposed to be also an anti-Pope, according to the St. Malachi prophecy. And an anti-Pope is a replacement Pope, which again fits Francis quite well because Benedict was still Pope when Francis takes over. So, but anti-Pope can also mean, coming before, as in the false prophet, or making a way for the false prophet of the church. It can also mean the opposite of what a Pope can do. So, again, we want to be looking at all the different aspects of the words and the meaning. So, but there's no doubt, I think, within the church, there's a strong belief system that, within the Roman church, there's a strong belief system that we are getting to the end of the whole lineage. And now it's an interpretation in terms of what that means going forward. Is it going to be corrupted to be the Babylon church? Or are they going to try and bring in the kingdom of heaven, so to speak, on earth and get their act together in a way of converting everybody, which now plays you into those false prophets and the prophets of the Mary apparition.
This is the engineering behind a hybrid engine with responsive acceleration. It's not a hybrid, it's a Honda hybrid.
I've swapped this for this, and I've never looked back. These are low-calorie meal replacements that are designed to burn kilos quickly. Just replace any 2 meals of your choice with shakes, soups, or oats, and enjoy almost whatever you want for a third meal. Just
confused by all the products for your dog or cat? Too hard. Oh, hello. Personalized product recommendations from Swaggle. Too easy. Swaggle, the Too Easy pet store. Too easy.
Okay, I see. So yeah, all that right there, especially with the Mary apparitions, those apparitions, when they happen, there's always 2 stories, right, Garry? You hear one person say, "Oh, I saw the Virgin Mary; she was glowing," and then you'll hear other people that saw the same thing, and they say they saw an alien or they saw a UFO, kind of like Fatima. That whole thing with Fatima has a whole different, every person has a different answer. Some people say they saw a light, some people said they saw nothing.
Just checking something out, guys. Okay, that didn't load then. Just trying to load something, guys. Okay, it looks like it's something different.
Earth's deepest point, they witnessed something extraordinary, a discovery that defies conventional understanding and fundamentally rewrites our knowledge of life on Earth. News of this discovery is now spreading rapidly across the country, with major networks interrupting regular programming with developing news. This is Channel 7 News reporting live. We're receiving urgent reports from the Pacific Marine Research Center that the Mariana Trench phenomenon has expanded beyond the deep ocean. Scientists are calling this an unprecedented biological event affecting marine life across the entire Pacific region. We'll continue monitoring this developing story. This discovery
It's 3 months old, guys.
Doesn't just challenge science. It forces us to reconsider humanity's place in the natural world. The deep ocean's darkest secret. For centuries, the Mariana Trench remained Earth's most impenetrable frontier, a realm of absolute darkness where pressure exceeds 1,100 atmospheres and temperatures hover just above freezing. Scientists long dismissed it as a biological desert, a place where complex life simply couldn't exist. That misconception persisted until the International Deep Ocean Exploration Initiative launched what many considered a fool's errand, Project Abyssal Eye. The trench wasn't just unexplored, explains a lead oceanographer for the mission. It was practically untouchable. We've mapped less than 20% of our ocean floor, but the deepest parts, those were essentially blank spots on our map of Earth. The initiative represented an unprecedented collaboration between research institutions from America, Japan, China, and the European Union. Their mission: deploy next-generation autonomous underwater drones capable of withstanding the crushing pressures of the Hadal Zone, ocean depths below 6,000 meters where conventional equipment fails catastrophically. The drone they created was unlike anything seen before. Named Prometheus, the unmanned submersible combined titanium ceramic composite materials with revolutionary pressure compensating fluid systems. About the size of a small car, Prometheus carried advanced imaging equipment, sample collection tools, and could operate independently for up to 72 hours at maximum depth. Previous missions to the trench lasted hours at most, explains the chief engineer. Our drone was designed to live there, to truly explore rather than just visit. The mission began with little fanfare. Prometheus was deployed from the research vessel Horizon Dawn, approximately 200 miles east of the Mariana Islands. The dive would take nearly 6 hours to reach Challenger Deep, the trench's lowest point at roughly 11,000 meters below sea level. But no one expected that the drone would capture something that would shock the scientific community to its core. Strange sounds from the bottom of the ocean. The first hint that something unusual was happening came not through visual data, but through sound. As Prometheus descended past 8,000 meters, its acoustic sensors detected an anomaly, rhythmic vibrations that didn't match known geological or biological patterns. At first, we thought it was equipment malfunction, recalls an acoustic specialist. The pattern was too regular, too structured to be random noise. It almost sounded like communication. The team nicknamed the sound biotang, a low, undulating roar followed by a high-pitched metallic ring. The sequence repeated at precise 86-minute intervals, defying explanation. Marine biologists initially suspected an unknown whale species, but the depth ruled out cetacean presence. Geologists proposed hydrothermal vents, but the sound's mobility contradicted that theory. As Prometheus continued its descent, the acoustic anomalies grew stronger. More disturbing, they appeared to respond to the drone's presence. When Prometheus activated its sampling arms or changed course, the patterns shifted, almost as if whatever generated them was aware of being observed. By the time the drone reached Challenger Deep, the eerie signals had gone from background oddity to the mission's central mystery. Abandoning the original survey plan, the team redirected Prometheus to follow the sound, determined to uncover its origin. That decision changed everything, the lead oceanographer for the mission would later tell reporters. We sent Prometheus into the trench to study microorganisms and geology. Instead, it found something that has forced us to reconsider what we think we know about life on Earth. What the drone captured next would leave the scientific community speechless. The footage, initially classified and later partially released under Freedom of Information requests, showed something moving in the darkness, something large, organized, and unmistakably alive. The mysterious signals that changed everything. The scientific community approached the anomalies with caution. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a marine biologist at the Oceanic Research Institute, led a team analyzing the audio recordings. We applied every known classification system, she explains. The sounds didn't match any known marine mammal, geological process, or human activity. The biotang phenomenon defied conventional explanation. Unlike random noise, the sounds displayed mathematical properties typically associated with intelligence, prime number sequences, Fibonacci patterns, and what some researchers controversially described as syntax. The drone's data revealed another baffling aspect: the signal's mobility. The sounds weren't confined to one location, but moved through the trench with precision. Acoustic modeling showed the source ascending and descending hundreds of meters vertically and traversing miles horizontally, all while maintaining its peculiar rhythmic pattern. Eventually, a disturbing correlation emerged. Bride's whales, typically scattered and infrequent visitors to the waters above the trench, started behaving in unprecedented ways. Their pods grew to 3 times their normal size, converging near Challenger Deep, a region they had long avoided. Even more unsettling, their vocalizations began to echo elements of the biotang, tones, rhythms, and frequencies that mirrored the mysterious signal from the deep.
That's unusual,
Dr.
isn't it?
Nakamura, cetacean specialist, noted the unprecedented behavior. It was as if the whales were responding to something, perhaps warning each other. Their calls became more urgent, more complex, almost like they were trying to communicate with whatever was below. The scientific team expanded their monitoring network, deploying additional hydrophones throughout the trench. What they discovered next sent shockwaves through the research community. The biotang wasn't isolated. Similar acoustic signatures appeared in other deep-sea trenches around the Pacific Ring of Fire, faint but unmistakable echoes of the Mariana phenomenon. This wasn't just a localized anomaly, the lead oceanographer for the mission concluded. It was a pattern, a system. Something was coordinating across thousands of miles of ocean floor, something we couldn't see or understand, but something the marine life around it seemed acutely aware of. As researchers gathered more data, a chilling theory began to take shape, one so controversial that many dismissed it outright. What if the biotang wasn't a natural phenomenon at all? The signal's precision, its intricate structure, and its unmistakable mathematical patterns all hinted at a startling possibility. This was not random noise, but deliberate, intelligent communication. But communication from what? And to whom? The answer would prove more terrifying than anyone had imagined. The spectrogram breakthrough. The research team turned to artificial
A mermaid.
intelligence to analyze the overwhelming amount of data collected. The key breakthrough came when Dr. Amit Sharma, a computational biologist, applied a novel algorithm to convert the acoustic data into multidimensional spectrograms. Traditional analysis was getting us nowhere, Dr. Sharma explains. We needed to see patterns beyond human perception, correlations across different frequencies and timeframes. The AI discovered something remarkable hidden within the biotang. Embedded within the main signals were subtle subsonic pulses that formed distinct patterns when visualized. These patterns resembled nothing in human experience. Not language, not code, not random noise. They were structured yet alien, organized yet incomprehensible. It was like finding a book written in a completely unknown language, remarks Dr. Sharma. We knew it contained information, but we couldn't decipher it. The team named these subsonic elements echo patterns and began the painstaking process of cataloging them. Over months of analysis, they identified 157 distinct patterns that combined and recombined in what appeared to be rule-based sequences. The AI model recognized similarities to certain mathematic principles, but couldn't establish a definitive meaning. What troubled researchers most was that the echo patterns were changing over time, becoming more complex and more varied. It wasn't just random evolution. The changes appeared responsive to human activity. When additional drones were deployed, new patterns emerged. When researchers conducted tests, the biotang responded with corresponding variations. The inescapable conclusion, the lead oceanographer for the mission would later testify before a closed congressional hearing, was that we weren't just...
When you know we've never made it to the moon, when you actually know that and see them making their moon trip, they look like idiots, don't they, guys? Where you see them on the lunar surface, they just look like idiots. Now we know the truth.
Observing something. We were being observed back. But the most startling revelation came when Prometheus captured the first visual evidence of the phenomenon. The footage, initially classified, showed brief glimpses of bioluminescent structures along the trench wall, enormous patterns of blue-green light that pulsed in perfect synchronization with the biotang. These weren't random flashes or known bioluminescent organisms. They formed geometric shapes, concentric circles, and complex fractals that stretched across hundreds of meters of the ocean floor. More disturbing, they appeared to be growing, expanding their territory along the trench walls. What the drone captured in the Mariana Trench wasn't just unusual. It represented an entirely unknown form of organization, an ecosystem or entity that operated on principles beyond current scientific understanding, and it was responding to human presence when everything started going wrong. As the research continued, oceanographic monitoring stations across the Pacific registered an unprecedented spike in biotang activity. The signals, previously confined to the deepest parts of ocean trenches, began propagating through shallower waters. Marine biologist Dr. Leila Takahashi observed the immediate impact. Marine ecosystems reacted instantly. Deep-sea fish species altered migration patterns. Sharks abandoned traditional territories. Most concerning, Whale populations began exhibiting signs of extreme distress.
Wow.
Bride's whales, which had previously congregated near the trench, suddenly disappeared from the region. Tracking tags showed pods traveling thousands of miles off course, some entering Arctic waters where they'd never before ventured. Then came the strandings. Within weeks, over 200 cetaceans washed ashore across Pacific coastlines. Not just Bride's whales, but multiple species. Post-mortem examinations revealed disturbing commonalities: damaged vestibular systems, ruptured ear structures, and neurological abnormalities consistent with it.
By the end of the degree, I had gained skills in understanding how to model climate change, how these inform policy, and how to communicate these to a variety of different audiences.
Yeah, how good school holidays? So good.
How good's that? Keep going.
Look how many ads it's got on.
Nailed it.
Ziggy! No!
Ziggy!
That's it, we're going to the shops.
With extreme acoustic trauma. Something had essentially overloaded their sensory systems, explains Dr. Takahashi. The damage patterns suggested exposure to sounds beyond their biological tolerance, not just loud noise, but specific frequencies targeted at their auditory biology. Researchers made another disturbing discovery during the autopsies. The stranded whales contained high concentrations of an unknown compound in their brain tissue, a substance that exhibited bizarre electrical properties, responding to low-frequency vibrations and disrupting nearby electronic equipment. Scientists labeled it resonant plasma, a bioelectric material unlike anything previously documented. Project Abyssal Eye expanded dramatically, with research vessels from 12 nations forming a monitoring perimeter around the Mariana Trench. 3 more Prometheus-class drones were deployed, each equipped with enhanced sensors and protective countermeasures against the biotang's potential effects. The mission's goals had shifted from exploration to containment and understanding. Whatever was happening in the trench had begun affecting surface ecosystems. The scientific community faced an uncomfortable question. Was this a natural phenomenon awakening after centuries of dormancy, or had human intervention triggered something that should have remained undisturbed? The answer came when Prometheus 2 captured footage that would change scientific understanding forever. The drone's cameras recorded a massive structure emerging from the trench floor. Not a creature in the traditional sense, but something far more enigmatic. It wasn't built, the lead oceanographer would later explain. It was growing. And based on our analysis, it had been growing for a very, very long time. The world unites to solve the mystery. Following the discovery, the United Nations convened an emergency scientific summit. Representatives from oceanographic institutions worldwide gathered to form the Trench Echo Initiative, a coordinated effort to understand and monitor the phenomenon. We faced a situation without precedent, explains Dr. Robert Keller, the initiative's director. The biotang was no longer just an acoustic anomaly. It had physical manifestation, biological components, and demonstrated behavior suggesting some form of intelligence or organized system. The research vessel Mistral Horizon was deployed to the Mariana Archipelago, carrying the most advanced ocean floor monitoring equipment ever assembled. Using next-generation seismometers capable of detecting nanoscale vibrations, the team established a sensing network around the trench. What they discovered changed the mission's scope overnight. The seismometers detected regular pulses emanating from deep beneath the trench floor, not in the water, but under the seabed itself.
We've already played this bit, haven't we, guys? It's repeating itself.
These weren't tectonic movements, but rhythmic contractions like a massive heartbeat, occurring precisely every 86 minutes.
Hang on, guys.
Earth's deepest point, they witnessed something extraordinary, a discovery that defies conventional. The most advanced ocean floor monitoring equipment ever assembled. Using next-generation seismometers capable of detecting nanoscale vibrations, the team established a sensing network around the trench. What they discovered changed the mission's scope overnight. The seismometers detected regular pulses emanating from deep beneath the trench floor, not in the water, but under the seabed itself. These weren't tectonic movements, but rhythmic contractions like a massive heartbeat, occurring precisely every 86 minutes. More concerning, thermal imaging revealed heat signatures moving beneath the ocean floor, slowly migrating northwest from the trench. What the drone had captured wasn't just in the water, it extended beneath Earth's crust. Dr. Akari Watanabe, lead seismologist, made the controversial decision to deploy experimental, deep penetrating sonar.
Guys, I lost my thought there because I accidentally turned it off. Where was it? I'll go to Paul Begley now. Okay. Hang on, let's load it here. It's easier. Hang on, guys, just loading Paul. Okay, hang on. Sorry, guys. Hang on.
Yeah? Who is it? Yes, can't say it. Hey, who's it, huh? Hey, who is it?
It's mine.
What the fuck do you want, huh?
We're just trying to find Paul. Back in a sec, guys.
Advance. It's worth shaping out why apply.
And coal, metals, and minerals like those mined by Glencore help to make it possible.
Copper helps make ultrasounds possible, advancing health checks for growing families, even the very ones.
Hacking phones of the news of the world has been endemic.
Rupert Murdoch's explicitly encouraged it.
I'm here to reinvestigate the Daniel Morgan case.
This is just the tip of a very big iceberg.
This alien spacecraft or comet coming, there's a deeper picture here that I want you to see, and we can look at maps and everything else, but the fact that they're even questioning is it a comet or is it a spacecraft is very interesting. And the timing here, we have seen for years, we researched this for more than 8+ years, and this aligns us with the agenda at hand. This agenda takes us to not only a true release of the PSYOP psychological operation, as the Pentagon is talking about 8,000 mysterious UFO orbs hovering over U.S. military bases, but the strange James Webb telescope images, everything that's coming out right now, it seems to be a fit with a huge alignment. What's coming out now, we're going to give you a little deeper dive into the scenario at hand, what to look for. Also, they released a map that's very interesting here of the Pentagon talking about where all the UFO orbs over military bases was at. Why is this interesting? Because we went to look into this map deeply, and we know that one of the Space Force bases, there was a specific military interview.
It's not Paul, as you can tell. We'll go away for a minute.
So, so that's the problem. So my
Look how many ads have been on. Been about 10 ads so far.
How do dairy farmers keep cows comfortable in extreme weather? Find out, and you ask, we answer.
March, this is one of our praise reports right here in the chat room. Okay.
Testing.
Okay.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Nice.
Okay, we're back.
Yeah,
All
we're
right.
back. Go ahead.
We're back. Hang on, I missed some then.
Machine with instructions. Finish waiting. I think it's all.
Geez, you missed a lot. Look at his poor wife. She's turned white.
Let's have some fun, stomping and clapping, tambourine slapping, whole church rocking and everybody shouting. If you're asking me, I tell you it's a fact. It just don't get no better than that. No, I'd like to get some of those old days back. It's a bona fide fact. No better, no better, no better, no better, no better, no better. You just don't get no better than that. Yeah, are you serious?
Oh, finally.
Are you serious? Pastor Paul Begley singing It Just Doesn't Get Any Better Than That. And so you can get that available at the
He hasn't been through Rapture yet, easy to say.
website. I think that's on the prophecy one. Can't remember the name of the CD, but it's the newest prophecy CD. I can't remember the name. Pastor Paul's in there. Oh, Miss ED's got Harmonize and Prophesy. Thank you, Miss ED, for helping me out of there. All right. And so you can get the Harmonize and Prophesy. There's also the Journey CD, and we've got lots of CDs on the website. So just go check it out, and you will find it there. Pastor Paul, unfortunately, had 3 hours worth of oral surgery, so he's here with us in the chat room. And he, like I said, he's right here by me as a wingman, but it's a little hard for him to talk today because his jaw really, really hurts. All right, so pray for him that he gets feeling better quickly. Supernatural healing for our pastor.
Wow, that's creepy, Lloyd.
In the chat room, that she got her prayer blanket, and I'm so glad, Angie. And I saw that you did
praise report on Facebook as well that you're doing fine. And so we're glad to hear that as well. Angie is an amazing singer herself, and we met her along the revival travel
Herself, as though Paul's a good one as well.
along the way. She's from Southern Indiana. She's also come up to some of our summer fires and sang for us. And we just love Angie, and we're so glad to hear that you're doing better, Angie. So it's good to see you, and it's good to hear that you're doing better. So we're still praying for you. All right, and if you are part of the blanket ministry, thank you so much. This is one of our praise reports right here in the chat room is Angie, saying thank you for the prayer blanket that was sent to her. All right, and there's Kathy Arnell. Good to see you too. All right, good to see everybody. All right, so we will be hearing from Mike from around the world. I'm going to be asking him about all these things that are happening all over the world. And if he goes over all around the world, he surely should know. But really, what is happening with these 800 generals? Are they in a bunker right now, or are they just meeting on Tuesday? What is the truth of that story? And if they are getting in a bunker, are they meeting for us getting ready to do something with all this happening in Venezuela? Is that why we're having such a buildup of troops in Puerto Rico and the Caribbean? What is going on? All right, so we're getting ready to ask Mike these questions and more. Gaza, the 21 piece plan that Trump is putting together with the Arab brothers, is that what's going to happen with Gaza? What's going to happen there? Did you hear that Abbas also spoke? Abbas, if you don't know, he's a Palestinian leader. He spoke at the UN, and he did put down Hamas. That was good to hear. But he also declared Jerusalem as the Palestinian capital. So of course, it's usually East Jerusalem that they want for the Palestinian capital, but it's all of Jerusalem for the Palestinian capital. So something's got to give there, and then we're back to the age-old question about what do we do with Jerusalem. All right, Jerusalem's been conquered. I don't know how many times throughout history. Somebody's got a number on that. Ooh.
The cost of retirement will be different for everyone. UniSuper's retirement calculators can show you how much you might expect to retire with and what you regularly.
Running empty's a bit of a pain. At Origin, we're helping you keep your LPG topped up with simple orders through our app. That's all kinds of useful.
The Brits had it the last time around. So it happens all the time at Jerusalem. But so why is everybody interested in this little piece of real estate in the world? Why is everybody interested in this little tiny piece of real estate in the world? Why is everybody interested in the chosen people of the world? Why is that? All right. Well, maybe Mike from around the world can give us answers to these questions. All right. And can give us questions to what is happening in Gaza. Are we getting any closer to getting the last of the hostages out? Can we ask those questions? Are we getting any closer? Because I tell you, the horrific
time someone brought this up.
Things that the last of these hostages have been through. Nobody can imagine what they have been through. I don't know if any hostages have been treated as horribly.
They should not have given the hostages back. Whatever they gave Palestine as a deal, it's a deal too much.
These hostages. I know there's been hostages in Vietnam, POWs. They were there for a longer time. They were treated horribly as well. Those might have been worse. I don't know. But regardless, this is just horrific treatment of the hostages.
Do you remember Senator McCain? Apparently he was a Vietnam veteran, POW veteran, and he actually, when he was locked up, in his book, he tells about how he had to tell on the guy next to him, the cell next to him, and they done it by Morse code. And then McCain goes and dobs him in. Seriously, guys. He goes and dobs him in.
It's just terrible. Of course, those were military and these are civilian, regardless. And of course, you know, we can go on and on about how people have been treated through war, which is why we're saying.
Vast. I love Paul. I didn't know there was Christians that didn't like Paul, but there is. I expect that with the Catholics, but not just everyone.
We won't need another war. So that's the last thing we need is another war.
Yeah, well, we're getting it.
Okay. So I have my wingman here. I think he's ready to help me. See, there's his wing. Doesn't have any feathers, but yeah. Oh, he looks a little bit rough, guys. Please pray for him. His poor jawbone. Oh, so his jawbone's throbbing. He's telling me. All right. So I put that back up. I didn't get to see it. Went by too fast. What?
That sounds like it could be mouth cancer.
You breaking about Poland there. So whoever did that went by too fast. So you're telling me something's going on about Poland. All right.
Let Mike talk.
We're waiting for Mike from around the world. He calls in by now, so I'm waiting for his call. All right. I didn't see what you guys put up about Poland.
She went okay last time she hosted. I'll give her that.
Okay, Poland has urged its citizens to leave Belarus. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, Belarus is a power keg too. It's right there on the border, so that would make sense.
I never knew
Poland
that.
to have its people move out of Belarus. Belarus is definitely a powder keg, isn't it? Yeah, it's right there on the Russian border, and Russia has already declared that Belarus belongs to it. It's part of same thing like Ukraine, same thing like Crimea. Russia has claimed Belarus a long time. There's Kevin Wilson in the house. So it's good to see Kevin Wilson. All right. So Poland is game. All right. You were there. You were aware. Scripture reference. Were you in Belarus a long time ago? That would be totally cool. All right. So. Kevin Wilson's in the house. And Europe is advising people to have 3 days worth of cash as well. Yep. So if you want to know how I lost so much weight, I have my own YouTube channel and I tell you it all there. I tell you the whole story. The struggle is real. It's not easy. And you have to work at it. So
get off heroin and tell me how hard you went through it.
Definitely not easy, and it's a struggle, but definitely I feel a lot better and a lot more healthy. So there you go. All right. And yes, we did ask Mike, was Charlie Kirk the dream of who was in the coffin? He said Charlie Kirk was not the person in the coffin, but he it was a lot like the scenario of what happened with the people being upset. And unfortunately kind of divided. So he did say that, but he said no, he was not the person that was in the coffin. So
there's your answer.
So that's what we're going on. Somebody else jaw hurts here as well, Pastor Paul. Aha. And we have Mike from around the world. Is that you?
That is me. God bless your sister Heidi.
God bless you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Oh, I'm on the hot seat tonight.
Are you in the hot seat?
Yep.
We have lots of questions. So much is going on around the world. Can you help us?
Let's go.
Well, where do you want to start?
Anywhere is fine. There's a lot going on, huh?
Yeah. Can you tell us about Venezuela?
Ooh, dark place. It's a very dark place. Venezuela is. I think it's all coming to a head, but by the way, that area is a corridor. Venezuela and all those Haiti, all those places up there is a corridor. It's a problem spot, a military problem spot. That's where China has a great interest, and of course Panama's near there, Honduras, and all these little spots where China interacts and has a pretty big influence. So if we can actually subdue that place, America could be protected in its some of its more vulnerable parts. That leads up to Cuba, by the way. And Cuba is a staging area for Russia, right? That's already a problem. So, but Venezuela is very dark, and the only way to really subdue Venezuela.
I never knew that Venezuela was involved with Russia. I don't think many people know that.
Is to go into it. It's sad to say, because they have Venezuela. Most of the people there, it's a blending of Catholicism with Caribbean Santeria practices, right? But witchcraft is all over that place. Sorcery is used all over that place. Shamanic practices, it's a general practice all over that place, and they do some pretty bad things. Like for some of those practices that take place at least once a week, they have to have living human bones for some of their magic. This is every week, so there's a lot of death in that area, and it pertains to black magic. So the better that place can be subdued, everybody's going to be in better shape. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a dark place.
Mm-hmm. So it is spiritually dark as it is physically, and then they had earthquakes going on there.
You can't hear this.
Yep. Absolutely, it is corrupted. I mean, corruption is. If a person were to go there and stay there for like a week, they would likely succumb to the atmosphere. You can feel it. It's a very thick atmosphere of darkness all the way around. It's almost like you're in prison or something. And then the people around there, you can look in their eyes. Many of them want to escape, but they can't. I mean, it's like absolute bondage in that place.
Right. So when he's teaching the civilians and putting guns in their hands, they don't really have a choice, do they?
Why does Paul Begley? Why is he the only one we have trouble with sound with him? Every time we have Paul on, we have troubles with the sound. Now his missus is playing upside down.
No, they don't. They don't like it, but they know if they don't do it, their family is not going to make it, and his family won't make it. So it's one of those things, and President Trump he's aware of this, and he's going to make a difference. Most of the crime, most of our enemies utilize Venezuela to get to the USA. So if that place is captured, if Cuba is secure, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, next to Guyana and all those other places, if they are secure, America can at least have a secure waters in that immediate area, because right now they're not secure. But they're just not secure, and something tactical is bound to spill over in a very short time period.
So is that part of the strategic renaming of the Gulf of America?
Yeah, it's a claiming, actually. It's a claiming of sovereign territory. Because if you think about it, the Gulf, that area has been utilized by China, by Russia, by anybody else who hates the USA, attempts to get soldiers through into the USA. And sad to say, that's what's been happening over many years. Soldiers have actually been entering into the USA through any, not only Mexico, but also Florida. Florida's a big area where people kind of wander into the USA. But of course, that's being taken care of, and it will come. It's one of those situations that it's been ignored for so long. But now that somebody's doing something about it, the sheer number of operatives, I guess you could say, in the USA is alarming. It is alarming.
And so that takes us up. Let's talk about that telecom situation that they stopped at the UN.
Yeah. Well,
got through to Australia. We had our phones go down for 24 hours on Vodafone, I think it was, which is my network. But I used my network off the TV from the streaming.
First, I want to say that was one of a few places. That's ongoing. I say that because the equipment that was actually seized, if you look at it, SIM cards, yes. But some of the servers were actually Raspberries, right? Which is a very cheap computer board that you can buy from Amazon and load it up full of software and have it do just about anything you want it to do. Some of the radio equipment that was used, they had routers, but those routers were also full of them. They were full of boards that you can buy from Amazon any place to put it together. In fact, a 13-year-old could actually build those devices. And that stuff being all over the world, that's not the only spot. It's not like that cost, billions of dollars to do. The average person on a medium salary could do that same thing, given it, 3-4 months time. So that problem is likely all throughout the USA. And that's a big suspicion of mine. It's a big worry, because I know how numerous, if somebody were to look at some of the transmissions taking place in the USA, you start looking at some of these smaller MCU microcontroller unit devices, transmissions, blown off systems, and things that use SIM cards, you find them all throughout the USA, They could easily be turned into devices in a matter of seconds. It could be spoofed or utilized to take down a cellular network. And I think that we've already gone through that. They just did not want to admit it. When the cell companies went down, right? That was the same thing. Because at the same time the cell companies went down, we had aircraft that also started to go down. If people can recall and match those dates together. So there were certainly something was jamming frequencies of 4G, 3G, and up all throughout the northern hemisphere, basically, essentially. But that's an ongoing issue. That's not over. It's not over. It's a vulnerability. And it's just one of those things that is, they're going to have to tackle this very carefully. And it will come with some compromises, but it's going to enhance security. Because I'll say it again, this is going to lead to the great hack. I'm going to call it the great hack, when people in America and Europe and NATO countries, France, Spain, Turkey, all these NATO countries, are going to experience a type of digital hacking event in which people will call for biometric devices and set of passwords. Mm-hmm. They're gonna want to get rid of passwords. They're gonna want secure networks because it's gonna come with great loss. That's the other problem, right? Now, they could potentially lose everything through hacking. And with AI, they can be a type of automated hacking. So it's not a particular person, but a machine with instructions to fight all other AIs to accomplish, some nefarious things. That's the world we live in right now.
Yeah, and I just saw again, UK is coming out with a digital ID, and we saw Vietnam. But it was Vietnam, wasn't it, with a digital ID last week?
all the Western states or Western countries, NATO countries, should be on board with the new network that's coming out. It's not a brand new network that's coming out. I heard Patrick Hall mention 10G, right? Or the primary reason for 10G is to synchronize Earth-based devices with space-based devices. Yes. We have platforms that are around countries. They will be soon enough. With and when people find out about those, they'll begin to realize how big the digital infrastructure actually is.
Sorry, guys.
So it's all going into motion this year. They're doing everything this year. I believe that some of the 5G towers already have some of the modded equipment on them to expand it. So you're in a rush.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, she's low again.
Really quite amazing, actually. Oh, when you try to wrap your head around it.
It is.
It's like we're getting to the point that we're all going to be part of.
Support for whatever life throws your way. Swiss, here life comes.
Bloody ads.
With world-class expertise and local insight.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, we already are. Look at our dependency on technology, right? So the first step was getting people comfortable with devices. The second step was to get people to depend upon those devices and to see them as harmless. The third stage is to integrate those devices into everyday life. And of course, the final step would be to integrate those devices into the biology of people. You guys, I'm lost. You guys can't hear me?
You're there, but I can't.
Oh, okay. Okay.
She's having problems like me. Come here, Moo, come here.
Testing.
Okay.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Come here. Okay, we're back.
Yeah,
All right.
we're back. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike.
All right. Anyway, no, I was just saying about the getting people ready for integration with digital devices. You know, here's one small thing, like television, right? Back in, I think it was like 2000 or something like that, there was a conversation about television, and they're doing everything they said they would do. First, there will be millions of channels, right? So many channels, the person will not be able to really watch them all at once. And to surf through Hulu and all these other places, it's going to become quite redundant. So a different device is being developed that has something to do with the eye. And basically, whatever your mood is, what you're thinking, or whatever your brain waves indicate, will start switching through streams to give you exactly what you want. But they know that people normally don't stay and watch the same television show the whole way through. So this device will track everything, right? So you'll have at least a person will be able to consume, I guess you could say consume about, I don't know, 15 times more than what they can right now with comprehension of what they've been watching, right? Because people are information hungry. And with this device that works with the eye, it'll be utilized as such. So we're going to see streaming services become these super centers, these super data centers. And of course, with the new device that people will have, they'll have information on demand, right? So it'll be much faster than anything else. You won't have to search. You won't have to do that. They've already mapped the brain. So they know what all your thoughts actually are. And they can interpret that into requests, right? So that'll be perfected. And small things like that will be put into everybody's tech base, I guess you could say, which will then create a further dependency upon technology. And that's going to be the control mechanism for everybody is technology. Even right now, if a person is not allowed to use a cell phone, if a person is not allowed to get on the internet, their whole world would collapse. Their whole world. It's moving to that area to where people will, as soon as they're born, they're going to have some sort of ID that will link them to the network, and there you are.
I'll have a drink of water for you anyway, Vast.
There you are.
Well, it's
Listen,
amazing. It's like we have something like 30 to 50 trillion cells, and all of them are actually down. Take them all down to photons, and then you can activate all those photons. Correct?
Yeah, they can also. I think with some of the new computer models, they'll actually be able to track at the cellular level everything that's going on, and they have certain devices like that. But we're moving into an area that is, it's not a good area, because once you go so far, a person has no ability to track what the technology is doing. Kind of like AI, when it writes its own code, and then the original coders have no idea what language it's using, what procedures have been inserted, and they can't do anything about it. So we're in that area.
It's amazing.
Fix your sound up, Paul.
Track all the bioweaponry.
Yeah, that's almost a signal that it's already in motion, or it's it's about to get in motion. If that'd be a good thing, though, actually, Sister Heidi, because we could destroy right now one nation. Each nation probably could destroy the earth if they had loss of biocontainment of what they've been developing. And I think North Korea and Russia are the two worst. Russia, of all nations, would understand this, right? Russia's had some pretty bad accidents, and they vaulted most of their chemical and biological weapons. But so they know the consequences of mistakes, of human mistakes, and what can actually cost. But North Korea, Kim Jong-un, he has the largest stockpile of chemical biological weapons. So it's almost like a message to North Korea that we're about to tone you down a little bit. At some point, they're going to have to do something about that. At some point.
Because Russia seconded it right away. They said
Yeah, they did. Yep, they did.
Yeah, so very interesting. I think we should agree on that. Russia also just recently had. I found it very interesting. I was checking on. I follow one of the scientists, and who's a futurist, and they recently had like a futurist conference just this week, and it was their BRICS nations, and even European nations were there. So I found that very interesting, seeing that Trump just said to the European nations, why, I'm not going to continue to do this with Russia and Ukraine as long as you continue to buy oil from them. Well, they're over there having a futurist technological conference in Moscow this week.
Yeah. So, but, two things have happened. Russia, China, and a few other nations have started their own golden age, essentially. The USA is not quite in.
That's why they went after Gaddafi. He had a gold bullion for Africa, an African gold. Yeah, that's what he set up. And that's why they killed him.
Lockstep with that. So there's a tug of war right now, right? And Russia's doing. They're going to probe Russia to see how financially stable it actually is. And Russia so far has been doing okay. And because they have the support of China, they have the support of some other places. And India is, sad to say, India is also seems to be supporting Russia, right, with Europe. So what the clear picture is this: the USA stands by itself with Israel, right? President Trump understands this. He will, on occasion, he'll throw out hints that this is the way it is, that we have no allies, that other nations can't quite be trusted. And the UN was a good example of that with the language of the recognition of the Palestinian people versus the recognition of Israel as a whole with Jerusalem, not Jerusalem being a part of some other nation's province. And Trump was totally against it, but you had all these other nations who started to speak out. And the Syrian president, everybody ought to keep their eye on this guy. This guy is everywhere. He's been with President Trump. He's been with every single influential leader in the world. And he's gaining respect and ground and everything else. It is abnormal. In my opinion, it is spiritual, right? Nobody gets that type of favor without some sort of spiritual influence. And I'm not talking about a good spirit, but this guy is doing things that no person with his background should be able to do. No person.
I think he's talking about the Prince of Saudi Arabia.
But he's making too much. He's gaining too much ground in the hearts of these leaders, including our president. Yeah, that's interesting in a bad way. This guy's doing it fast.
He's not a good guy. Not at all.
No.
No, it's a terrible history. Yeah, I've even seen that Trump was thinking about getting Bagram Airways back.
I hope so.
You think that'll happen?
Well, I hope so. I really do. In my heart of hearts, I know everything's going to align by way of prophecy. Some of what is proposed to be done, because it contradicts with prophecy, I know is wishful thinking, but the attempt is commendable. But I think we're in a time where the pieces are putting themselves in final position, is what it looks like. I mean, this is beyond suspicion. This is...
Diane, I spotted a rat about 2 days after that happened with Charlie. Once that happened, that was.
There are too many absolutes, and they're happening right.
You just knew something went on. There's something. Even the footage don't make sense.
I know.
But that's one thing I won't touch because there's a lot of heat.
And Israel's position, the whole world is calling for their disarmament, essentially, right? For them to be subdued. And we know that's only a matter of time. President Trump's the only thing holding back the other nations from doing anything. But I heard something very disturbing, Sister Heidi. There was a conversation concerning President Trump. They said, just tell him yes. Tell him yes, appease him. Tell him yes. Tell him yes, and then we'll go forward. Just tell him yes. So in other words, it's almost like by speech. They're going to deceive him by telling him yes to just about everything, right? But that's not what they're doing behind closed doors. Just like you mentioned, the conference in Russia, you have these other nations who are supposed to be, with NATO, doing things in the best interest of NATO, yet with what President Trump has proposed, not buying the gasoline, you have these same nations, joining conferences with Russia moving forward as far as the futurist conference with technology. That's it's a big statement. That means they're willing to be in the future with Russia, and they're disregarding what President Trump is saying, so they have no intention of following through with what President Trump is proposing. So we have a world that's saying yes to the most powerful leader in the world, but
Trump's in big trouble if that happens.
in their hearts, they're not
Then again, he's shifty.
with him. They're not, which means when his tenure is over, what happens then? What happens then? These guys are setting up for something. It's almost like they're preparing for his departure. And once he departs, the influence he holds is going to be gone, and they can move forward with what they want to move forward with. Now, that's a very, I know it's a somewhat of a morbid thought, but you really can't help but to see it that way or in a similar way once you see the whole picture.
Right. And that's what I was saying before. We have to frame everything as if it's
Bloody hell.
next election. Always about 18 months before.
She's not
the
turning
next
up, she
election,
talks louder.
everything starts moving that way. For instance, silencing Charlie Kirk's voice.
Mhm. Yeah, and I believe that was absolute. That was odd. Oh, well, I say that was odd because of this. That guy who assassinated Charlie Kirk, in truth, he may have had his emotions run away with him, right? There may have been an external component to that. Here's why I say that. This will get weird, but I know you like to research. As Paul says, you research everything. So people who get abducted by aliens, they say they got abducted by aliens, right? There's a phenomenon that happens. And
Since 2004, Advocate has been trusted to treat dogs with fleas, worms, and heartworm disease.
Makes healthcare seriously accessible. A platform that connects you to an experienced doctor.
Hola! Discover the treasures of Portugal on a 10-day small group tour with freedom to explore and all things considered. Come join us in 2026. Search Bannock Tours today. It's who you go with. Bannock Tours.
I should be okay to say these things, but these people have white spots in their brains. Okay, white spots. These white spots show up on CT scans. All of them across the board, no exception. Now, those white spots, that's not dead tissue, that's living tissue. This living tissue, the white spots, is not, it is not a sign of any known disease or any known condition, right? So there is a condition where you have white spots on the brain, but that's not it. These are different. All these people have that. But what it does look similar to, and what they found in some of these folks, as far as these folks, all of them have an IQ above a specific level. Number one, these same folks, they have increased RADs in their system. In other words, they've been exposed to radiation more than the other people have, all of them across the board, no exceptions. Every time they take in the subjects to test, they all come out with the same results. They have, these same people have other traits that are similar, but do you remember the Havana syndrome?
Yes.
Okay, they have telltale signs that they've been exposed to the Havana syndrome. Okay, which is somebody external utilizing some sort of microwave pulse weapon against people to speak directly into their heads. It induces headaches and this, that, and the other. All of these people have the same exact traits, the same exact chemical signatures, biological signatures. That's astounding when everything is so consistent with these people. Every time they bring these people in and they get checked out, the same results come out, to those who really claim they have been abducted. Well, the Havana syndrome, it can often, people can speak in other people's heads and reinforce it in a weird way, and the person can be activated simply by prompts, maybe an advertisement prompt, maybe a message right? Like Charlie Kirk, they could have said, well, they could have drilled that in somebody's head, anybody's head, and then that could have been the prompt to send somebody over the scales emotionally to make them do some things. This is done so effectively, it is spooky, right? And it's so effective that nations have safeguards against that now. They, of course, they didn't advertise that, but people can find it. I honestly believe that something like that could have taken place with this person who assassinated Charlie Kirk. I believe there are external components involved. I believe they're ultimately after President Trump. And I think that President Trump understands that. I think his defense team understands that. But it's getting worse,
I think Trump's becoming a dictator, a literal dictator. I think that's what I think's going on with Trump.
Which leads me to believe there's an active attempt to implement some sort of new global standard, right? A global standard that will quickly come into play once certain figures are moved out of the way. And only prayer can halt that. It's not going to be stopped by conventional means. I honestly believe this is a spiritual thing, and it can only be stopped by intercession. Nothing else is going to stop it. Nothing else. These guys are committed, and they are relentless. Because these assassination attempts, as an example, they will not stop. They're not going to stop. They will not stop.
And they're all starting to look very much like each other too. You know, if you chalk it up to copycat or if you chalk it up to somebody's arranging things.
Yeah, I would say somebody's arranging things. A copycat is one thing, right? But to be so effective twice. But then here's another telltale trait of Havana syndrome is that there are active things you can do when the event is taking place to cause a person to have cloudy thoughts, as though they have somehow they can deplete vitamin B12 in the system of a person to make them believe that, to make their thoughts kind of fuzzy. So they see somebody on the roof and they say, is that somebody on the roof? But they have no energy, no enthusiasm to do anything else but to see the person. I find that strange. If you went to an event for the president and somebody's laying down on the roof, why would anybody say, is that somebody laying down on the roof with a rifle? Really? Is it they of course they would do something. So something else was happening there too. It's almost like the state of the people that were there was different. It was just different.
Yeah. Interesting thing, the AV clinic here in the villages actually was treating Havana syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Just FYI.
Guys, it's her audio buggering up, not mine. Okay.
They're very fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So, what about Pete Hegseth calling everybody to Quantico? What's going on there? All the journalists.
Well, everybody has to be on the same sheet of music. Mm-hmm. How about that? Okay. There has to be at some point, somebody has to ask the question, are you loyal to the commander in chief or not? And you can't, because you have a lot of folks in there that are they're top brass, yes, but they're not behind the president. And that shouldn't be. And it's okay to have checks and balances, but ultimately, you have to have those who would support and carry out orders that they're given, not to question every order that they're given. And so there's an issue in leadership from time to time when people are hesitant, or they talk too much, right? Or they leave their phone on and they start, talking trash, and they think that nobody knows it. So to announce that publicly, to let that be public, should let everybody know what that is. If it were very, very serious. Not one person would know that. Nobody would know. Nobody assembles your top brass into one area and then everybody knows where they're going, right? If it were serious, nobody would know. Everybody would hear about that after the fact, right? So this is about accountability. Who's loyal, who's not, who's going to stand by their oath, and who's going to break their oath. One of those type things. There was an ongoing filtering of people taking place because before certain moves are made, they have to make sure that everybody's on the same team, and that should let everybody know that there is a type of operation that is soon to take place, and it will require absolute loyalty, understanding. That normally means when they take big steps, people are not going to understand why it's being taken, and not in all degrees, and so you need absolute cohesion in the chain of command when things like that take place. And so we're seeing the beginning of that.
Everybody's coming to an understanding.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, speaking of that,
I think that would be all the agendas of all countries, wouldn't it, Vast?
Escalator gets stopped in the middle of them trying to go up it. The First Lady and the President.
Well, that is the UN. Okay, that place is like a dusty hotel. It is, if anybody's ever been there, and it's weird too. They don't exactly. Sometimes they do little things on purpose, and they ignore a lot. Although it looks bad, right? Because it looks like somebody did that on purpose. That's what it looks like. Because those elevators can be controlled. That's a fact. You have a person controlling those elevators, and that's their only job. But if you take a glance at the person that was part of the security that stands up with the speakers, then you'll get a good clue in who they hire for security. Right? I don't think they're quite up to par as far as their job is concerned. And the president coming in there, you would think they would have taken extra steps to ensure security, ensure the systems are okay. I just don't believe that was done. I think that people have such disdain for President Trump that some people have personal feelings so strong, they're not going to go an extra step to make sure security is okay. And then you have other people higher up, they're not going to ensure that their subordinates ensure that an extra security is.
Diane, is that the one that's going to have problems with car loans? Remember in 2008 they had that big problem with the home loans? Yeah, remember that? Well, apparently they're going to do the same thing with a car, what they done then. They're going to make the car worthwhile, in other words.
I just think there's a lapse in security at the UN. I think it's a place that's divided. The UN their role is not quite defined as far as the president's concerned, right? And so you have a place that does not like his comments against them. So one of those situations, that's why his
not acceptable.
No, it isn't. It isn't. And but they know that. Personally, who can find a good reason for the UN? I mean, I know it's humanitarian. That's their major. What they end up doing is people pour billions of dollars into the UN, and what they go out and do is provide humanitarian support for other folks. That's all they do. They control logistics, things like that. But outside from that, they argue in chambers, and nothing is done about it. It's a bunch of stacked up paperwork with proposals that stay there for years and years and years. And there's no solution that I'm aware of that ever came from the UN that actually solved anything.
Not good. But anyways, I digress. What about the Gaza 21-point plan that President Trump has? Are we ever going to get the last hostages out?
If any hostages are actually left. I had a bad thought. In the Middle East, it's a known fact. There's a tactic of stalling that nations use and terrorist organizations use when there's no chess pieces to negotiate with. Right, so they will hold up an appearance of hostages, but I think that people might want to really consider that those hostages may not be there. I know nobody wants to hear that, but there's not enough empathy. What happened to the cry for the hostages every single day? It died out. Well, that tells me somebody knows something, right? And they don't know how to communicate that. So, at some point that's not going to work anymore. At some point it's going to be exposed. And I believe it's soon to be exposed because President Trump is going to demand that either they be turned over or they finally disclose what has actually happened. And he's going to put himself in position. He's going to put some pieces in position where they have no choice but to do that. Because what he's doing right now is he's putting them in controlled hands. They just can't see it. If you look carefully, they're being put in controlled hands. That's what's happening right now. So you have to put the squeeze on some of these folks so they will not give an inch, sad to say. And as far as Hamas is concerned, in my opinion, they'll never get rid of Hamas because Hamas is an ideology of which too many people have, and they hate the USA and Israel, and that hatred is spreading in the Middle East. It's really spreading. You had teenage children, teenage kids, young kids who saw their parents die.
Running empty's a bit of a pain.
I'm hanging up in a minute anyway, guys.
We're helping you.
How much super you should have will depend on a few things like your age, retirement goals, and whether you're
Die in what they think was a war, an unfair war. They don't know about October 7th. All they know is Israel mutilated their families. That's all they know. And so they hate Israel for that. Imagine a child growing up with that type of hatred. Of course they're going to turn into Hamas, right? And so you have millions of kids over there just like that, and they have a hatred. Some of these kids, this is from direct observation, Sister Hyde, you have 9-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old children who right now would blow themselves up. And how do they know this? They have these situations where they put, the kid does not know it. The kid believes they're real explosives. They have situations and they'll put a kid through a scenario and the kid does not know it's a scenario. They won't make the child do anything. These kids voluntarily put on an explosive vest and run into places and press the trigger, right? Because some of those triggers are like Claymore triggers, some are like strings that you pull, but they do that voluntarily just to see if they would do it or not. And there are too many kids who would voluntarily blow themselves up and everybody else.
Wow, that's pretty heavy.
For the sake of hatred. They're not doing it for their deity. They're doing it out of hate, and that's what makes this era different than any other. These kids are not doing it for Islam. They're not doing it for Allah. They're doing it out of pure hatred for Israel. We're in a different time.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a very different time.
And we were talking before you got on here about you know, Gaza. It was one of the 5 kings. It's an ancient place.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so there's ancient, ancient entities emanating from Gaza.
Absolutely. Yeah, they are.
And the bloodshed that has happened over the years, and now as you said, bloodshed continues.
Okay, guys, I'm going to go out. This audio's too difficult. I'm nearly up anyway. See you guys. See you tomorrow.
But you know, by prophecy, we know the Lord will put an end to it, but only He can. Nobody else can. Yeah, it's another factor.